So, Kimanzi, I wanted to bring you in to talk about what I believe you do better than most people that I know. I should say better than everybody I know, which is you've done speaking, you have sold products, you have a software company, you have sold courses, but it all started because you were a writer. And
And corporate consulting. Don't forget that.
yeah. But I mean, the corporate. I forgot all about that because all of those are manifestations of your writing, though, right?
Exactly.
So it started with writing, and it turned into millions of dollars in corporate consulting, hundreds of clients that you've taught how to get corporate consulting gigs. I mean, you've spoken at some of the biggest conferences around the world. I mean, you wrote a book with Jared Easley, who runs Podcast Fest or whatever it's called. I can't think of the name of it. Is it
Podcast movement. Yeah.
Podcast Movement, the biggest podcast um, conference in the world? So this isn't a new world to you, and I wanted to bring you on for that particular reason because I think you've done a great job of expressing your thought leadership in multiple ways, and the most unique is the one that most people run from, which is writing. And if people knew how much money was to be made by writing a weekly article, they probably wouldn't even worry about speaking. They would just write all the time. So give us a little bit of your background on top of what I just talked about, and we'll get into it.
Yeah. Well, I have a friend who always likes to say, "I'd rather show you than tell you." So let me, let me take that from that friend's advice and show you here. So I started in internet marketing space in 2011. Discovered podcasts, coincidentally, Pat Flynn, Smart Passive Income, and I wanted to do what this guy was talking about, like the whole internet thing. So I wrote an ebook, put it out there, and nobody bought it. And I was frustrated. And instead of giving up, I thought, let me figure out how can I sell this thing? And what I figured out was something very simple. I didn't have an audience. That's all it was, period. I didn't have an audience. So when I thought about how am I going to build an audience, for me, the easiest thing to do that I saw out of all the methods, SEO and social media and all this other stuff, was to leverage other people's audiences. So leverage large audiences. Like if I can get in somebody else who already has a platform, I could, have some of those people come to me. And back then in 2011, it wasn't the publications; it was guest blogging. So really big guys back then, like Michael Hyatt, John Acuff, Dan Miller, like some Jeff Goins, some really big names back then, bloggers, if you will. I cold pitched them. I went and said, "Hey, I love to guest post for your blog on this topic." And before I did that, I studied the blog. I saw what they published. I crafted something that was in their style. Some of them said yes, some said no. And in 2012, I guest posted on 80 blogs. And that brought me my first 5,000 email subscribers. It got me my first 2,000 sales of my book. And by the end of 2012, I actually had an online business that was making 5,000 a month, which was, bananas back then. Like it was bananas. And in 2013, I thought, let me just do the same thing. But the problem was those bloggers figured out, hey, we're only going to let people from our paid community guest post on our site. So people that are part of Michael Hyatt's, what do you call that thing? Platform membership. Do you remember that, Ron?
Hmm. Yep, I
Platform,
remember the platform. He had a book by that same name.
same name. Those were the only people that were allowed to guest post now. So he wasn't taking any outside people, and I wasn't part of it. So I thought, wow, if I could do it for all of these blogs, why couldn't I do it for all of these publications? Why couldn't I do that? And so I did the same strategy. I went to Askman, Black Enterprise, the things that you're seeing here on the screen, and I looked at their style. I found their editors, and I said, hey, I love to write an article for you on XYZ topic. A whole bunch of them said no. A whole bunch of them ignored me. But the main editor at Entrepreneur said, I'll give you a shot. The main Ariana Huffington back in the day said, I'll give you a shot for the Huff Post. And that's what started this journey of doing this. And from that point to now, I've always cold pitched these publications. So go to a publication, get a feel for their style, see what they already publish, find the editors, send them articles. And obviously, over the years, I've gotten better at figuring out what the publication wants to the point at this point now where I've had 2,000 articles published in over 100 publications and magazines. I've made, I would guess, over $1 million. I don't know what the exact number is. I'm not going to give you some internet marketing BS, but made some, significant amount of money writing articles for a publication. And like you said, when I started writing for Business Insider and I started writing for CNET and Black Enterprise and some of the more prominent names, that's when I started getting events and I started getting corporations reaching out to me saying, hey, we love this article that you wrote on XYZ. Would you come speak about it at our event? Would you come speak about it at our corporation? It's how Pat Flynn brought me on his podcast, which was a full circle moment to talk about what I was doing with publications. And as you said, it's just opened all the doors.
Yeah, I mean, I think people misunderstand that your product is really your intellectual property, right? So as a speaker or a thought leader, you have thoughts. And the key is, how do you express those thoughts in unique ways, right? So how do you take those thoughts and express them in a way, whether it's a book, a YouTube video, a course, in other like different products, coaching programs, whatever, consulting, all of those things are just expressions of that thought leadership. So I think it's, the things that stand out to me about what you said is you got 80 articles approved in a year, which means you probably wrote 500
At
to get
least
those.
it was at least.
Yeah, to get those 80 approved, not to mention all the other edits. And then you went from there and you started doing more blog posting and built an audience of people. You and I, we know each other because of the importance of having an audience, right? And you and I, we were talking one day over coffee, and you were like, "Man, I got 60,000 people on an email list." I'm like, "You got what?" And you said, "I got this thing. I've been trying to do it." I'm like, "I know somebody that can help you to do that," right? But it was because of the audience, right? And that audience always gives you a platform to launch more speaking gigs, launch whatever. You can create your own events, whatever you want to do, and which you do already, based on that audience. So I want to talk a little bit about how does a person go from, well, I'm just Ron, but wait a minute, before I ask that, do you think you get paid more because you write for Wall Street Journal or Forbes or Parents Magazine? Do you think they pay you more as a speaker because of those credentials or not?
1,000%. For the simple reason that when they bring me in as a speaker, they're not just going to say Kimanzi, they're going to say Wall Street Journal contributor, writer, however they phrase it. And they're damn well, they're going to use Wall Street Journal, Business Insider, all those publications. Every event I've spoken at says our speakers have been featured in, and
Exactly.
use those big names to sell tickets.
100%. It's like event planner insurance, right?
Yes.
Because it's like if someone says, Ron used to, I met with someone yesterday and she was a manager for Lennox Lewis.
Wow.
Well, like the boxer. And she
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
great stories about working with Don King and how much respect he had for her. But when she mentioned Don King and Lennox Lewis to somebody who watches boxing every week like me, all of a sudden I'm looking at her like, hey, yo, I'm a bit more interested in what she has to talk about now. Right.
Exactly.
And I think that those brands that you're associated with that have given you their stamp of approval can at least double your speaking fee, in which you said it has, right?
It
So
has easily.
how does someone go and get those types of credentials? Because they're just not handing them out to anybody, right?
Yes and no. Here's the good news about publications and getting publication opportunities. So the good news is that um, for these publication opportunities, there's kind of two categories. One is you go after a column. The other is you get a contributor account. So column is only two places, Forbes and Inc. And when I say column, I mean they'll let you log into Forbes portal, an Inc. portal, submit your articles. You can do them as much as you want or as little as you want. You'll get paid monthly. Like it's a regular thing. And this is not, you're not staff. Like, so this is you and me, non-staff contributors. Now for the columns, yes, you're going to need expertise in a topic. You're going to need articles published. You're going to need a website. You're going to need LinkedIn. You're going to need those things. That's for Forbes and Inc. Now, everywhere that's not Forbes or Inc., there's only one thing that you need to be accepted, and that is a good article pitch. That is it. If you, they don't care about your credentials, your social proof, or anything like that. And editors will tell you here that they don't care about those things because one, they're not giving you a login where you can just log in and post stuff, right? You're going to be pitching ideas each time. And two, it's really about the content. Because editors will tell you that even if you've been published somewhere else, they don't know if you wrote a good article or they don't know if the editor that you were working with wrote a good article. One of the editors here at, I will show you, one of the senior editors here at Business Insider said just this. And if you see right here, she says, I've worked with 1,000 freelancers, but I don't care where you've been published. I've seen writers who've had prestigious credentials send me awful copies and ones that have none send me great work. Clips are nice, but you never know if the writer had a good editor. So the good news is the only thing you need, if it's not Forbes or Inc., you just need a good potential article that you could write for the publication. So here's an example. If you want to write for Fast Company, like the leadership speakers here, the workplace culture speakers, the diversity inclusion speakers here, the editor of Fast Company says, do you have any ideas about your topic? Workplace culture, leadership, hiring trends, equity, inclusion. I'm always looking for new writers for Fast Companies. Rates start at $400 plus. Here's my email address. And it's not a mystery. She didn't hide her email. She didn't make you do jumping jacks. She told you exactly what she wanted, what she'll pay you, and she gave you her email address. And the only thing that you need to be accepted here is what's an article that you could write for Fast Company? Well, if you want to write a good article for Fast Company, you have to actually go and you have to look at what they're publishing on Fast Company. So the tip here is you can get in just with a good pitch idea, but the pitch idea has to match what the publication is already publishing. And if you looked at the articles here on Fast Company, what you're going to notice here is these are how-to articles and articles that are about topics. These are not stories. So if you led with the story, you're not going to get accepted at Fast Company. And that's the key between people who get accepted and who don't, is people that pay attention to what the publication is already publishing. So if you're going to pitch a leadership article, workplace culture article, whatever you talk about as a speaker, it just can't be a personal story. That's it. It can't be a personal story. Another example for the women speakers here. Cosmopolitan has a new features editor, and she wants articles that are pretty much about anything as long as they're interesting. 3,000 to 5,000 words. The pay is $1.50 to $2 a word. Here's the email address. Now, I want everybody to process this, what she just said. 3,000 to 5,000 words at $1.50 to $2 a word. That's 4,500 on the low end and $10,000 on the high end for one article. She's saying that. I didn't say it. Ron didn't say it. This editor at Cosmopolitan said it right there in paper. And she gave you her email address. So if you had an article about, women leadership or about growing a business or about careers or whatever, as long as it was interesting, you could pitch it to her. And the only thing you need is that potential article that you could write for a publication. You don't need anything else. I'll show you one more example, and then I'll show you what an actual pitch looks like to one of these editors. So here's Kira Fields. She's in charge of the entire contributor program at Business Insider. She's the main editor. And if you scroll on her page on X here, you'll see she has a document here. And if you click on this document, what you're going to find is she has a whole bunch of stories that she wants covered. So these are like stories that she wants covered. She's going to pay you for these stories. She gives you her email address. They're about 600 to 800 words. If you fit one of these categories, or you can find somebody to fit one of these categories, You can submit these to her and she'll pay you to write these articles. It's almost a slam dunk because now you don't have to guess. The editors told you exactly what they want. And all this is pitching ideas to publications based off of the styles of the articles that they already published. Am I with you so far, Ron? Because you're the only one on.
I mean, I ain't got nothing to say. I'm just sitting there.
Okay.
Ain't nothing for me to say. I'm sitting there watching, man. This is gold. Like, I'm talking about, like, think about that. I mean, you can do some simple math.
Simple
Everybody
math.
knows how to multiply a number times one. And everybody who's an adult knows how to multiply that same number times two for $2. It's really easy math. And when you think about what most speakers make from speaking, it's usually not that number, right? So if you're struggling to get weekly speaking gigs, you don't have to struggle to submit weekly articles to multiple different publications. Here's the other side, because I know this is what people are thinking. I can just use AI to write it. So let me go ahead and kill the elephant in the room, because I know I'm just gonna use AI to write it and I'm gonna get paid $10,000, as if Fast Company can't just use AI to write it themselves if that's what they really wanted. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, every publication out there has stated that they will not let you use AI to generate pitch ideas for articles or to actually write the articles. So let me show you. Let me show you this. So here is an email from here's an email from my editors at the Wall Street Journal, as you can see here, giving us all the instructions for writing articles for the Wall Street Journal. So 2,000 words, it could be personal, expert tips, all of the link to the Wall Street Journal's main articles, yada, yada, yada. And if you scroll down just a bit, I want you to notice what it says here. Zero tolerance for plagiarism or AI generated work. They're not taking AI based pitches for these publications. It's not going to happen. I'll show you another one here. So here is one of the main editors at Wired, who commissions articles. I'm now a features editor for Wire. I'm commissioning ambitious narrative. You think this goes without saying, but please do not send me AI generated pitches. So yeah, so if you're thinking that you're going to use AI to create these pitches or articles, it's not going to happen.
You know that's
They
what they
use
was thinking.
tools.
You
Yeah,
know
they
that's
use
what they
tools.
was
They use
thinking.
techniques.
Right? You know?
There's no
So
there's no getting around the hard work.
I think that that's been a theme of this entire summit, which is, if you put in the work, you get the results. If there was a guy who told me when I was younger, and he said, "Don't complain to me about the results you didn't get from the work you didn't do." And I was like, "Oh man, it's true. Like, if I didn't do the work, I can't complain about not getting the results, because it's easier to see someone else." Now, we've all been there where we saw someone else who we thought we were more skilled than, but they got better results than us. But in reality, it was they put in more work than us. And, it really just comes down. Everybody that we've talked to with this summit has said, "Oh, no, I did a lot of work to get here." Nobody said, "My boy put me on." Nobody said, "Hey, I just did one thing and this magically happened." No, you do 150 speaking gigs in a year, you did some work. You get 80 articles placed, you did a lot of writing, right? If you sold so many corporate consulting gigs, you pitched a lot of corporations, right? So, I think that this is very interesting. You want to stop your share for a second? I don't know if you wanted to keep that up there.
Yeah, I wanted to just say one more thing. So you all see that the opportunities are out there. The editors have said it. Now, what does an actual pitch look like? It's pretty simple. You want to put the word pitch somewhere in the subject line because editors get bombarded with PR pitches that are like the headline and they just delete those. Editors will always tell you put the word pitch in a few words. So pitch about leadership, pitch about marketing, pitch about business. That's all you have to do is put the word pitch in there. And then it's very simple. Hello, editor. My name is Kimanzi. My name is Ron. I'm a speaker, coach, or consultant. I'd like to pitch some articles for Business Insider, Fast Company, name the publication. And then that's it. That's all that you need after that. Then what's going to get it for you is the article ideas. Suggested headline, and then one to maybe two paragraphs describing what the article would be about. Right. So I'm pitching to Business Insider, which likes a lot of stories. So I'm pitching stories about financial literacy that I'm teaching my children and being a digital nomad parent. Those are the pitches that I'm pitching. And it aligns with what they already pitch at Business Insider. Editor comes back and says, nice to hear from you. I want this one. This is how much I'm willing to pay. What's a realistic deadline for you? It's literally that simple. What gets you in and accepted is this, the potential article that you could write for a publication. That's it. And if you can get clarity on that and it aligns with what they already publish, you can get accepted into any of these large publications and they will pay you for the articles.
No, I think that that's sweet. And dude, we make it easy. If you're using PR pitches, the software, or you're using Speaker Hub to do this, use the AI generated thing for the beginning, and then underneath, paste your story.
Paste your story.
Or use a template for the beginning. Underneath, paste your unique stories for that particular opportunity. Because we give you all the data, right?
Yep.
You know, if you're in when you log into your account, there's a section that says templates. All of those templates were written by who? So we got the best person writing the templates. Like the templates were written by Kimanzi, right? So we have someone who's been published in 90 publications, who's been doing it for 13 years in the top publications. He's built a speaking career off of it. He's built a consulting business on top of it. All of those things, a large team. He travels all around the world, lived everywhere.
And makes real money.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you, with what you do, you make more money than every speaker I know just from writing, right? So you have the tools. You already have the exact words to use in the system, and they were built by somebody with real experience. Most of the people, I can say this for a fact because we know who we work with, most of the people who are out there that are teaching this were in this course. They were in Kimanzi's course, right?
They were.
I mean, we were doing the pitching, clients. So we know. Like, here's part of it. Kimanzi and I worked together where he had all the knowledge of the teaching. What I knew really well was the pitching. How do I get the emails delivered at mass? So if we wanted to pitch a bunch of corporate or things like that. So we work together in business with a lot of the top people that are out there. They're just regurgitating this stuff. So, you don't have to go buy their stuff to get what he's giving you today for free, right? So what else do they need to know? So now we've covered a few things. 3 main points I've taken from this. Number 1, anybody can do this. Anybody can pitch. You don't need to be special to pitch yourself to be a writer, which is good. The second thing is you can't use AI, which is even better. You can't use AI. So that eliminates the lazy folks. And the third thing is if you just do the work, you eventually get the results, but you can make a living submitting 1 article a week, right? You can make a decent living submitting 1 article a week and then using that credential to get higher speaker fees.
Yes, because once you get accepted in these publications, you can then put the logos on your website, put them as experience on your LinkedIn. You can put them in all the places where you display your credibility. You're going to be seen in publications like Business Insider, for example, gets 280 million unique visitors every single month, right? Forbes gets 60. Inc. gets 40 million unique visitors. It's just a lot of people that are going to see your stuff now. So you're going to put yourself in the best place to be found. And then also, if you work with individual clients, it's great social proof for them. But the one thing I want to address that I know somebody's thinking now that they're saying in their head, they're thinking, I'm not a writer. I can hear somebody saying that right now, and you're a speaker. And here's the good news. You can take, this thing right here, your iPhone, right? You could take some kind of dictation tools and you can talk the articles, talk to text. That's almost a better article than if you sat there and wrote it because it's more natural sounding. So you can use talk to text because writing is just expressing thoughts, right? You express thoughts as a speaker. So you can use talk to text and talk out articles in minutes that are great and use a tool like Grammarly or something like that to edit the article and make sure it flows. So even though you feel like you're not a writer, if you can speak, you are a writer, and talk to text is your best friend.
No, that's incredible. That is a huge deal, right? So, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, like, dude, I got to get me some writing, right?
No,
But
I got you covered.
here's one thing I was thinking about though. When you said they can use the credentials on their website, this isn't like you were featured in an article, right? This isn't somebody quoting you for one line, right? This isn't one of those cheesy $100 press releases and they put the same goofy press release on 1,000 websites and in a week, Google takes them down for duplicate content, right? So this isn't that fake press stuff. This ain't fake news. This is, you will be a real contributor for these different publications with articles that are permanent. They're not there today where you got to go and screenshot them in 30 minutes because they're going to take them down and they're going to be delisted from Boston Journal, whatever these goofy websites are with these press release distributions. Your articles are there forever.
So if you look on my website and you see all these articles, all of these pictures that you see here are clickable to the actual publication, where you can see my profile column, and then you can see all of the articles that I've written. And one thing that we didn't even mention, Ron, was these publications open doors. If you want to interview somebody and you say, I'm writing an article for the Wall Street Journal, I can't think of anybody that's going to say no to that. You want somebody on your podcast, you want somebody on your stage, you want to interview somebody, right? And they also open doors in that you get opportunities. This past Thursday, I interviewed LeBron James, Jimmy Butler, Anthony Edwards, and who's the other? Jason Tatum. I interviewed them on Zoom. Like LeBron James, most famous basketball player right now, billionaire. I interviewed him for an article for parents, and I did this and this was assigned to me by parents. So that was like a surreal experience. I went to Disney press events. It's opened so many doors being in these publications. And like you said, this is not the goofy whatever. This is, they can click on the link, see the articles, read them, and it's just a different level of social proof.
Well, pull back up your screen again. Can you
Yeah,
go to Google and just type your name into Google,
yeah, I'll do that.
right? Because I did this and I was like, oh, wait a minute. They like put your stuff right underneath. Like it ain't like people got to go find it. Google has the special squares on at least in my Google, they had like special squares with your article. I'm like, oh, dude, this is super duper duper social proof. Like it's like right there. Nobody has to wonder about you anymore, right? Like that is a big deal when you're trying to establish authority and credibility. Like, look at this. They don't put my tweets in there because they don't care about me. Google ain't indexing my tweets and what I got on CNET or Forbes. I can't see all of these. My eyes aren't that good. But Google ain't they're not putting my parents' things. They're not putting my books. You're getting legit advice here from someone who's doing it, not somebody who took his course and rewriting his course on how to do it. One thing that we're going to establish here at Speaker Hub is, we're going to only bring you the people who have done what they're teaching. There are too many fake gurus out here that are teaching stuff that they have never done before. We always want to bring you the best people that are actually living, they're walking what they're talking, you know? So, Kamanzi, what else are we missing? I mean, we showed them how to, what am I missing? What did I not ask you about? Because,
Uh, Now you just have to take action. So, like some of the most commonly asked questions people will ask is, after an article is accepted, how long do you have to turn in the article? And on average, it's 2 weeks. So you're not going to have to turn it in tomorrow. You're going to have 2 weeks to write the article. They're going to ask you, do you need to get other sources in the article? It depends on the article. For most of them, no, they won't. You won't have to get sources. Are they? Is this guaranteed to publish? If they accept you, yes, the editor will work with you to make sure that it is published. Can you put links to your own stuff in your bio? For sure, you can put links to your own stuff. In the body of the article, it depends on what the article is about. Like I have an article on CNBC Make It that was published, and I have a link to PR pitches in there. I have a link to other things in there because it was relevant to the article. And other than that, I mean, that's pretty much it. The good news is you could get off of this video right now, off of listening to this. You could go to find a publication you want to be in: Forbes, Women's Health, Oprah Daily, whatever. You can find the editors that are listed there on the staff page of their website. They don't make it difficult to do their email addresses. We have all the contacts. If you want to just go through us, it's all in one place. So you don't have to do all this. But all you got to do is come up with a good potential article that you could write for the publication. That's it. And you literally can pitch and be accepted today. Like that's how fast it can happen. And unlike other opportunities, you don't have to wonder, does this publication want articles? Are they accepting? The answer is yes. These are media outlets. They're always accepting good stories. Always.
yeah, I think one of the cool things about what you do with PR pitches is a lot of speakers, people forget that speaking is the like still top 10 most feared thing done by humans, right? But it's like top 10 easiest business to start. So all you got to really do to start to be a speaker is change your LinkedIn, right? There's no board approving you to say you're not a speaker. You can't tell your story. But getting on stage to tell your story opens you up to booze and a lot of other things. You're gonna have to do it a lot for free before they start paying you. If somebody boos your article, you don't hear them. you, know, you know, and then you got an editor that's there giving feedback. Like I've watched some of the notes that you put in the group about the feedback from an editor saying, hey, fix this. Hey, change this part. This part was great, but this, you need to go further into this thing. So they're giving feedback on the article because it's their reputation too, right? Your speaker coach ain't on stage with you like, yo, give him a 5-second pause before you say the next sentence. They're not doing that, but you have that with this editor. So I think the coolest thing that I've watched you do over the last year and a half or so is how much you actually coach people into winning, right? Every Friday you're on like, hey, I'm going to bring in the editor. Y'all better be ready. I'm going to bring in this person. I'm going to bring in this person from this company. So that hand holding, speaks for itself. I mean, dude, it's incredible. The amount of effort that you've put in to make sure that other people can be successful. Because it's here, one last thing. If you go to a conference as a speaker, there's one stage, and that conference is going to be for 3 days, and there may be 10 speakers. Wall Street Journal got space for unlimited articles.
Unlimited. Unlimited, yeah.
There's no competition. Like, if you got 20 great stories, guess what they're going to publish? 20 great stories. Right?
And Ron has seen this with all of our, members that are doing it. Like
yeah, exactly.
One cool thing that I think is, I showed this, one of the cool thing is what the people in our community are doing. And if you just look at this, they're doing it.
Incredible. Freaking incredible. I mean, dude, this is all these freaking screenshots. It's so funny. Because here's the thing. We don't talk about this enough. That's the problem. Like you and I, we don't really like doing a bunch of bragging. We just want to work. But I got to hire somebody that's a marketer that just wants to brag all the time about the results we get because it's cheating, you know. And yeah, man, I'm excited. Um, I'm glad that we were able to partner together, right? Because
Yeah.
it just started as a conversation at Juan Valdez here in Medellin.
Yeah.
And you were like,
Random
"Oh
coffee
man,
in
I
Colombia.
want to start a company to help people to get into more publications." And I'm like, "What type of company?" I'm like, "Don't you already do this?" He's like, "Yeah, but I want software." I'm like, "What do you want it to do?" He's like, "I wanted to be able to pitch people for publications." I'm like, "Yo, I got that," and we never used the media part.
Yeah.
And you were like, "Really?" I'm like, "We never used the media part at all because I don't know who to pitch." And you were like, "Oh, go get the editors." And then editors are for approving articles, and journalists are for byline if you
Features.
just want to be
Yeah.
quoted. I'm like, "Oh, that is so simple." And you gave me the people to go get. I'm like, "All right, man, I got the data. What do they say?" You're like, "Oh, I'll give you the 5 pitches. Here are my 5 templates." PR pitches was born. We were good. After that, I mean, dude, it's totally nobody
Yeah,
has
because
more results than
the
what you've done.
hardest part is the pitching. I mean, even people that are hearing this now, even though we've laid it out, like I would say in a pretty simple way, there's going to be some people that are intimidated. They're like, "Oh, pitching the Wall Street Journal or and if you have that, my vision was always to have that software that could just take the hard part for you, and you had all that. And so now I put it all in one place, and then we have the best community on the internet of people that are actually doing it. I think it's a marriage made in heaven.
Yeah, man, I think your coaching is what makes it work, right? Because we know people that have bought lists and they've bought what is it? They buy the list, they get the email address, and they never send anything. And
Nothing.
you know, when people
Nothing.
start seeing other folks like going into Barnes and Nobles and taking pictures with the physical magazine that they're in, they're like, "Yeah, I can do this," right?
Yeah.
I can do this. I saw some of the photos. You were in the airport, and one of your clients had an article in the airport, and I'm like, "Oh, that is the
Yeah.
dopest thing." I can't imagine walking through an airport and seeing a magazine with my article in it. And
It
yeah,
multiple people, and even people, our PR Pitches members have done it themselves, like people in other countries, and they've done it themselves. So it's the best. You talk about social proof in a world full of guru stuff. How about going and seeing a magazine with your article in it?
100%. Well, hey man, you're the king of this stuff, and like I said, most people who are doing it, they probably learn from you, and then they're just reteaching, your
A
stuff.
lot of people.
And that's flattery, but at the same time, if you want it from the horse's mouth, you're getting it right here. And anything else you want to leave them with before we let them go? Outside of they should probably join your community. I don't endorse everybody, but I endorse your stuff because it's real, and I know the results. Like I see them when I log into the group. I see it. I'm like, oh, this dude is his folks are killing it.
Yeah, prpitches.com. That's where you can go to see the community and the software. Um, Very grateful for my friendship and partnership with Ron. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. So that was a good coffee.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I
then
mean,
I
it's
would
been
say,
great.
you know, the biggest thing, the why I'm such an advocate for large publications, why I'm so passionate about it, because it's a 20% strategy. Tim Ferriss talks about the 20% of things you can do that get you 80% of the results. That's what large publications are. You're getting paid to write the articles. You're writing articles for hundreds of millions of people, literally. You are in front of your ideal, organizer, corporate executive, whoever that you're trying to target. You're in front of them. You can use those names to get their attention. It's going to help you raise your speaker fees. You're going to get higher fees. And then if you're an entrepreneur, it's also going to help the other parts of your business, like building your email list, selling courses and products and books and all that stuff. So it's like the one thing that you can do that will get results in everything that you can do. And the key to being successful is just one thing. What is the potential article that you can write for that publication? And if you could nail that, the doors are open for any publication that you could be in. And this is something that will definitely help you build your speaking career.
I mean, it'll change the way your family look at you. You get an
It
article
will.
in the Wall Street Journal, they like, well, he write for the Wall Street Journal. He must be something.
Well, my mom is from Kenya, and I've been entrepreneur since I was 19 years old, and I'm 43. And that whole time, she has not known what I've done. I've explained it to her. I'm like, this is what I do, Mom. I sell things on the internet. She's like, people on the internet buy information for, like, she doesn't get it at all. So when I started writing for publications, she just started telling everybody, my son's a writer for Forbes. My son's a writer for Wall Street Journal. That's what she said. She don't say anything else.
No, that's all that matters. You got to make it easy for people to introduce you and to refer you to other folks. So again, Kimanzi, I appreciate the time. I appreciate our business relationship and the results that you've worked hard to help people to get with the publication pitching. We got to get you to come back to talk about the consulting side, because we've done some good work with consulting too. But I think it comes down to what you said. If you put in the work, right, you'll get the results. So don't complain about the results you're not getting from the work you're not doing. And I'll leave it at that. Thanks again.
Thanks for having me.